Hi, it's Kylie Koo. Welcome to my studio. So, sometimes I do written journaling, but I don't like to leave the journals as they are. I like to go back and paint over them, so I change them into art journals. So, these three journals are morning pages from when I was doing The Artist's Way. Now, I did only get up to day 48, so I fell short to doing the full 12 weeks, but at some point I'll go back to it. But I now want to alter these three journals, and what I plan to do is to take all the pages out and rebind them. They had staples, but I know that once I start to use wet media they will actually start to rust. So I've taken all the pages out of the three covers and I'm now just giving them a quick sand over. This will just mean that the material that I put on top should stick a bit better. And this is one of my boxes of just kind of collage papers, and that's a bottle of PVA glue, and I found that in my garage when I was starting to do some clearing out, and I bet you it's been there for at least 15 years, so I wasn't too sure how well it would work, but it seems fine and it's a way of using it up. So all I'm showing you here is me actually collaging papers down. Now some of these are papers that I've jelly printed on, some are drop papers, and they're all different kind of qualities of paper. Some, the likes of this, I think was just paper that came in packaging. So really trying to use everything up here. And I'm just going to show you really me putting these down and into place. But let me tell you a bit more about the journal that I go on to work on today. And I'm calling it my Let It Go journal. Now, I try and find positive things each and every day, and if you watch my positivity deck videos, you'll know that that's my kind of purpose this year in making that deck of cards is trying to make each one positive, and knowing that I can go back and look at them and pick up the kind of positive vibes that I've tried to imbue in each card. But you know, just because I find positivity or try and find it each and every day, it doesn't mean to say that there's not times when there aren't things that kind of bother me a bit. And you know, I'm not talking here about big major things, just sometimes somebody might say something or do something and I think kind of why did you do that, why did you say that? And then I'll often say to myself, just let it go. You know, in other words, it's not worth worrying about. But sometimes I think it's kind of good to get some of that stuff out, to get it down and to journal about it. And I've not been doing as much actual journaling recently, just because, again, if you've watched other videos you maybe heard me say that I've had some quite low energy levels at times, but I've been wanting to get these journals converted because I don't want them sitting around. And the thing about morning pages is you're not supposed to go back and reread them, so you know, I want to get them covered up so that I'm not tempted to reread them, and I want to start using them as art journals. So I thought one of these would be ideal as my Let It Go journal. Now the other thing I want to do with this particular journal is not to be too pernickety about things. I really just want to, you know, kind of slosh some colour down or just get some thoughts down. It is really about letting it go, not worrying how it looks, but just kind of dealing with it. So here I am, I'm now going to cover my second journal. I've got that first one and it's actually outside drying, which is a novelty for here. But yeah, we've had some good weather, so that's drying outside. And this is just a piece of drop paper that I had, and I'm going to stick one bit on. It's a huge piece. I'm just going to stick that on almost as is. I torn it from a really big sheet of paper, and then I'll just do a bit more collaging on the top of that. So I get my 3 journal covers done today. Each one looks a little bit different, which I'm pleased about. I'm not sure if all 3 will become Let It Go journals. We'll just see. But yeah, definitely going to go on and finish one today. So just adding a bit more of the PVA there. Some of it wasn't sticking too well in places. I think it depends on the type of paper going down as well. And now just going to fill in some of the little gaps. Now there'd obviously been something water soluble on here because it starts to lift some of the colour, but that's fine. I just use that to my advantage because there were a couple of white bits on the page that I'd first stuck down, and so that just helps me cover them up. A little bonus there. So yeah, let me know what you think about the notion of let it go. I'm going to show you, as I say, me making one journal all the way through today, and I have actually also recorded me doing the first page in this journal. I'll put that up as a separate video though, so as not to make this one too long, and I'll probably leave a couple of days in between. In fact, I'm hoping this will go up tomorrow, which will be Saturday. I'll then have my Positivity Deck video on Monday, so maybe Wednesday I'll put up the first page from this journal. So again, just filling in all the little edges. And it's almost starting to get confused there with the drop paper that's underneath it. So again, that one goes out, and I'm now just going to do something similar with the third. I was just using the collage papers that I had, but trying to make each one just that little bit different. And again, this is something that I've put some jelly print on. It looks as if it's maybe even just been to use up some excess. And again, this is all packing paper. So some of this is a bit more fragile. That first piece is quite fragile because it's very thin. So you will see me also putting a layer on the top just to make sure that it goes right through. And I'm not being too pernickety here in terms of what goes where. I'm really just wanting to get it all covered, but you know, I can't help at times stop and look and say, oh, that go there. But really it was about trying to get it down as quick as possible. As I say, I want with this journal, or at least the one that I finished, just to be able to go to it whenever I feel like it and just get something down quickly and just work it out in my system, just let it go. So just spreading out the glue there, trying to make certain that the pages are all fully adhered. It's a firm paintbrush that I'm using, so that's really quite good for pushing the paper down. So now I'm just using some pieces of, it's a kind of deli paper, and just adding that on the top. It's semi-transparent, so it's still possible to see a little bit of some of the pattern underneath. So in some ways the last thing I needed was more journals. I have so many journals on the go, it's unbelievable, but I wanted to get these done. So that's me just going around the edges now, just cutting the overhang off, and there I've put the pages in, so it just lets you see what they look like on the inside. Now I'm going to do a very simple 3-holed pamphlet stitch here, so one in the middle and then one either side. So I'm going to try here. I don't want to read the pages, so I'm trying very carefully not to show anything on screen of what I've written, and It makes it a little bit difficult to try and do, but I get there. So just using these little clips to hold the pages in place. And I'm actually really liking this cover. So I'm pushing from the centre out that first hole, pushing it all the way through, being careful not to stab myself as I do so. I then move along to about halfway between that hole and the end and push another hole again. And then I come down to this bottom end again and push through there. So I'm now taking a bookbinding needle, although you can use any type of needle for this, and I'm just going to use some waxed bookbinding thread. And initially I take about 2.5 lengths, but for the later journals I only use 2 lengths, that's more than enough. I'm just running it through my fingers. That just kind of warms the wax a bit and makes it pull through the book a bit easier. So I get my needle threaded up, and then I'm going to go from the outside. So down through that centre hole, and I pull it through, and then from the inside I push through the top hole. Now there's 2 ways you can then do it. You can go into the centre hole again, or right down to the bottom, and I'm just going right down to the bottom, through again, and then on the inside I go back to the centre hole, and push up and through, and you'll see it in just a second. Push up and through, and I make sure that I come the other side of the thread. So you want one tail on one side of the thread and the other tail on the other side. And I just check that all the threads are tight, and then I just tie a knot. I just stuck my needle into the roll of the waxed thread there just to make sure I knew where it was. So that's my other 2 covers dry, and I've now done the exact same thing to them. So I now have 3 journals. So with my first one, I'm now going to start to decorate the page just a little bit, but I actually want to put a title onto this journal, and I'm going to stamp "Let It Go." So I'm just trying to work out the letters. Obviously these are reversed in order to stamp. Just affixing them to an acrylic block, and then I'm going to put plenty of ink on. Now these stamps are by Paper Artsy, and it's one of the Everything Art sets, E4 Everything Art. So I've got my word, and here I'm looking and I'm thinking, is this going to stamp the right way? Have I put them on correctly? And I decide that I have. And I give it a good old firm push down, and there we have the first word. And I'm deliberately trying to make the letters a little bit uneven, you know, I don't want them totally uniform. And again, pushing down firmly, because the paper underneath isn't totally even, it's good to give it a firm press down. Just looking at if there's a particular way the letter O should be, because there is that little gap. I don't suppose it matters, individual preference. And there I have my title. Now I suspect that this journal cover will get a little bit of paint on it as I go along, and I'm not going to be concerned about that. That will just add to it. Sometimes I don't do a journal cover until after I've finished a journal. Sometimes journal covers don't get done at all. So this is a barbed wire stencil by the Dusty Attic. I think I've only used it once before, but I really like it. And just looking at, I suppose, just framing my title. And I just felt that the barbed wire was quite good, you know, just that kind of jaggy issue, thorny issue, and letting it go. So I just create a kind of border around the title. And all I'm using is a small cosmetic sponge and just using the Stays On ink for this. I think this is a really easy way to make journals. I've done this sort of thing many times before. Taking just little sketchbooks, making them into journals. This particular one is A4 size, so it's a reasonable size of journal. I think there was around 48 pages in it, but in a moment you'll see that I'm actually going to glue some of the pages together. However, before I do that, I'm going to go on and use another stencil. Now I didn't have the packet for this, I can't remember what it's called. It could just be plus signs or something, but it is by that same company, the Dusty Attic. I'm just going to do a little bit of that here and there. And I'm calling that cover done for the time being. So this is white gesso, and all I'm going to do is put a bit onto that front page again, just to kind of cover it up a bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue that first page to my cover. It will just add a little bit of strength to the cover, but I do want to double up all my pages. That's the next two on the inside, and all I'm going to do is go through them now, and every 2 pages I will glue together. So I'm now on my back page. I've put some gesso in that. I think it will also help it stick, and then I'm just putting some, just using the glue stick here, and now just going to push that together. And it might be over time that I need to, actually put something heavy on that just to get it flat, and it might be that over time I need to glue the edges down. But that's it. I hope you've enjoyed seeing how I've made these 3 journals, and as I say, the first page in this journal will be coming very soon. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.